go. There we go. All right. Welcome. Live stream should be totally ready to go here, guys. Welcome to another episode. We've got another coin founder interview for you tonight. And with me on the line, I have part of the development team for SpotMeCoin, who I've affectionately called the Stig, because nobody knows who he is, but everybody knows of him. Some say his name is Ben Franklin. Others say you don't really know what his name is. But tonight we're going to find out some really cool stuff about the SpotMe project. The current tag is XME, or the current ticker symbol is XME. And we're going to talk all about SpotMeCoin. My viewers asked for this interview because a couple people in the mining community were saying, should I mine this? Is it worth my time? And I said, you know what? Why don't I do you one better? Why don't I talk to somebody from the founding team and let's ask all around the project, and then you decide. I'm not just going to tell you yes or no. Why don't we give you some really good info straight from the horse's mouth? So thank you for being on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's good to be on.
So let's start from the very top. With the SpotMe project, where did you see a problem? What problem did you see? And pardon my ignorance, but which project did you fork from, or where did you draw your inspiration? And then what problem did you want to solve with this project?
So a lot of it, it's similar to everyone else, right? You know, it's always ease of use and all that kind of stuff. But we forked from ForkNote or CryptoNote, right? And so, but now we're really truly forked because we've been through our own fork, right? So we had a hard fork there. But yeah, you know, I think when we were looking at it, you know, it is an ease of use problem. I mean, it is learning curve is pretty steep for your average user, you know. So that's part of our issue. But the other part of it is the idea that we had behind the ecosystem, that what we wanted to do wasn't so much about how you could actually, you know, get in there and like make the individual tools better, but rather looking at how we could address the ecosystem and move towards more of, for lack of a better way of describing it, an Apple store-like model, where what I feel like is missing is you have a lot of developers out there doing their own thing, and we're all borrowing from each other and looking at what everybody's doing. But you know, when Apple came out with iOS and that, it really was transformational, not because they knew how people would use the platform, but because of the capabilities they gave them. And so that's what we're trying to do. SpotMeCoin, we liked ForkNote in particular because of the privacy factor of it. Obviously, we like privacy too, but you know, we liked the fact that it was not traceable. And so there was a number of things that of the forks to look at, or the things to look at. That one in particular had a lot of the capabilities we wanted. And then secondly, you know, we were looking at, obviously, you know, this is like financial software, right? And so looking for one that hadn't had a lot of issues. And at the time, ForkNote didn't have a ton of issues. And so it seemed like the logical choice at the time. And we're still good with the fact that we use it, although, you know, some of the warts are starting to show, but we're fixing those, right? So.
Yeah. Good. So awesome. So you are a CryptoNote. Which CryptoNote, I mean, and pardon my ignorance here, but which CryptoNote is ForkNote most closely related to? Would it be closer to Monero, for example, or closer to Bytecoin?
Bytecoin, right? And then I think they're all, if you look at like how they've all evolved, you know, Bytecoin is kind of where it all started, right? And Monero went off on its little path. ForkNote went off on its path. And so they're all fairly similar, right? But you started to see divergence with, you know, the algorithms that we're using to try to fend off ASIC miners and try to stay true to, you know, why CryptoNote was really put in there in the first place for GPU and CPU mining.
Yeah, phenomenal. Okay, so it sounds like then that was part of the consideration in working with CryptoNote, was making sure that you had something that was accessible in terms of mining for a really good distributed user base.
Oh, absolutely, right. And the larger we can get our user base, and you know, we recognize that right now we're small with our user base, but the larger we can get it, the more stable, the more secure, the more copies of the ledger, the blockchain that's out there, right? So, I mean, if you did let ASICs come in and run the day, you have a real problem later on when all you've got is ASICs and somebody picks up camp and you're done.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I think that's a definitely a topic of hot debate all around the crypto sphere right now. I've got on the show, we're going to have Zencash coming on tomorrow morning, and they are very heavily affected by this whole Z9 mini miner situation, right? Equihash has been just turned on its ear. Thank goodness there are a lot of teams can't name names and can't name dates for forks and things. There are a lot of teams who are responding to that, and we'll get to that in a moment with your project and about a little bit more on SpotCoin or SpotMeCoin in terms of how you'll be adapting or which projects you'll most closely align with to navigate the upcoming the upcoming battle between GPUs and ASICs. But it's great to hear you say that up front. I know a lot of the audience that tunes into my videos regularly, very much pro GPU, whether or not they're anti ASIC, very much pro GPU. So,
well, I think it's a strategic advantage, honestly. It's going to be harder for us to get the hash power up because we're going to have a lot more miners. But, you know, I think if you look at the strategy there and the distribution, and it really helps the overall community because it gets more people into it. So I think it's a strong strategy for multiple reasons.
Okay, awesome. Well, let's talk about this. What so if you could distill this down to one fundamental problem, we'll pretend like this is, and I've said this to some other guests on the channel, pretend like this is a VC panel that you're pitching to, right? And so all the viewers, everybody in the YouTube comments, first off, everybody's an expert, right? Everyone's got an opinion, but everybody in the YouTube comments, let's pretend like everybody there is part of a VC panel, and they're asking you to distill the fundamental problem that you're trying to solve with this project to one thing. What is that one problem?
So for me, and it's longer term goal, right? And I'm more visionary than that. But I mean, to me, crypto right now is an investment tool. It is not really a currency, and it needs to get more towards currency. And so we have to have better tools. So the tool what I am more focused on, and I'm probably going to kill myself for saying this, but is really turning it into a currency, right? To where you can actually use it. And you can go into the store, similar to like how you could use Apple Pay or things like that. But until we get to that point, we're not going to realize the potential of crypto, right? I know that everybody wants them as investment vehicles right now. But the problem I see with that in the long run is that sooner or later, the value is the bloom's going to come off the rose. People are not going to see why on earth we're going to be holding on to crypto because so I have this asset that I can't use for anything, but it holds value. It's similar to holding gold. But when crypto really is going to take off will be how we are able to incorporate it into the overall ecosystem, how we are able to use it in our everyday lives, you know, and how that turns into being ubiquitous with the technology to where you have your wallets on your phone, you walk through a store, and it checks you out, you know, and you don't, it's going to be, and there's so much there that has to happen. So, you know, I looked at how can I accomplish that, you know, by myself or with my team or with even 100 developers. And you can't, I mean, it's too big, but if you open it up, you build the platform, you start making your tools available to interact with your wallet and your blockchain. That's when I believe that the problem that I see us being able to solve, getting our ecosystem stronger so that we can move forward and start interacting in the gas station, right? I mean, that ultimately, you know, and then you're talking to the avenues with AI. And so, I mean, there's so many ways that we'll be able to use crypto and allow it to transform our lives, but we have to get past crypto as an investment. It has to turn into more of a functional currency. And
Got it.
Yeah, I hope that helps you understand why we're trying to go after the app stores. It's really to build a bigger platform to also, and if you don't mind me just going a little bit further on it, I know you're itching for a question, but
no, please do.
Okay, so also, like, to me, I think that there's a lot of, in the community right now, we're all trying to figure out the next step. And if you look back into the 90s when internet was just starting up, we had some search engines, we had web crawler Lycos. None of those really are around. I mean, they may be, but in shell only. I mean, the next Bitcoin, great, Ethereum, great, but really they aren't going to be the final solution. They aren't the Google, they aren't. And maybe people won't see that, but to me, there is a lot more that needs to be done other than just having a distributed ledger.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I'm getting a bunch of questions here in Discord. It's blowing, and on the YouTube comments right here. So I'm asking first off that we make sure that we ask better questions. That we ask this question, but then we continue to ask more questions and better questions by checking out the website. So I've put that down in the Discord, guys. Anybody who's asking some questions, feel free to follow that link so you can read directly on the SpotMeCoin website a little more about the project. But what I'm going to ask you, Ben, is I'm going to ask you Masternodes and staking. Is this on the roadmap? And I'm getting questions about this primarily. So yeah, Osiris Twits is asking on YouTube, and then Corey on our Discord channel is asking about Masternodes.
So yeah, I can address that. It's obviously something I'm looking into as a team. We are deciding on how centralized versus decentralized we want to be, right? And for me, some of the things that we may need to do may require masternodes, but we haven't fully got there yet. I really want to see how, and keep it decentralized for a number of reasons, and some of that's regulatory. The more centralized you make it, the more chance you become a bank.
Yeah.
And so it's but it is something we're looking at, because, and one of the avenues we're going down right now is a parallel sort of blockchain ecosystem to go along with it, to that may have the master nodes that we need to manage the applications that will interact with the currency.
Okay.
So,
yeah, it sounds like then there's quite a bit that you have to figure out technologically before committing to taking that path towards masternodes.
Yeah, well, it really, the genius behind, obviously, blockchain is its distributed nature, and the fact that you can't control it, right? That, in the sense that there isn't like a governing body, right?
Yeah.
You start getting to master nodes, you're going to have, there are regulatory pressures. And I think that to me, so if you can keep the currency separate, which is why, we've been looking at having a secondary ledger system that we store applications in, so that we can deal a little bit with the security that way. We're looking at those opportunities, but I don't want to go too far, because I'm probably already giving too many of our ideas away. But you know, right. What I'm saying?
Well, so I'm gonna do the Silicon Valley thing here and say you don't have a problem. You don't have a problem with giving your ideas away, and you don't have a problem with what is it? You don't have an IP theft problem. You have a visibility problem, and that's true of every project. I'm going to tell you right now. Yep. The last thing you need to worry about is somebody in this live stream stealing your idea, I think. Yeah. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. And if you're on somebody else's channel, it'll be like, oh, you get a bunch of people from like top 10 market cap projects going like, hey, that is pretty good. But today, probably not.
You never know. Hey, you're selling yourself short, man.
That's true.
Probably people coaching ideas right and left, man.
That's you're actually probably right. So awesome. It sounds like then Masternodes, you've got it's not even just the technological or any technological hurdles that you have to overcome as much as regulatory conditions that you want to make sure are met. The SEC is literally just gone on record as saying the Bitcoin and Ethereum are cool. Everybody else, maybe stay on your toes.
Well, and you look at what they said there, it was about them being sufficiently decentralized.
Interesting. Huh. So. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So let's talk about the new fork. Why a fork? Why a fork of ForkCoin? Why a new token?
Okay. So first of all, we knew that what we wanted to do was to change what has been done. And so we wanted the control of our own coin, so that's why we created our own. We didn't want to have to leverage like Ethereum or build something on ERC20 or something like that. So we did want that flexibility. So first of all, that. Secondly, a funding issue, right? We did an ICO. So we wanted to raise some capital in that, and that was helpful. Didn't raise as much as we'd like to, but we raised some. So, but I think the fork of the current, I think I understood the question was just why did we fork off a fork node? But if you're asking about the most recent fork that we did.
I didn't know I needed to ask that, but yes.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. And I knew you did want to ask that. So that's why I've led you in that direction. So what I'm saying there, though, is, yeah, it was to address, we were, in fact, I think it was back in April, we had somebody come in and they did the run and gun and gun and run, really. It was, they hit us really hard, and it took us like 8 hours to find another block. So
so you got hash rate bombed, or you got miner bombed.
Yes, we did. And we fortunately recovered, and we reprioritized our work to get that fork in place to make it secure and protect us from that particular vulnerability.
Got it. Well, I mean, that sounds like par for the course. I think every project that's serious has had to deal, like if you have any value at all, you're going to be a target at some point. So that makes sense.
It was super fun, and the community really came together to help us break that. So it was good.
Awesome. Okay, well, that's good to hear. Okay, so the secondary fork, it was evasive maneuvers then, based on, was it? And I mean, you're under cover of anonymity. Was it a nice hash bomb? I think everybody in my audience really wants to know. Could you trace it to nice hash?
It looked like it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is important. This is really important, especially with the 51% attack website that has gone up and theorized how much nice hash, how much it would cost to rent nice hash as your own personal jackbooted thug in hijacking a blockchain. I think people need to know that it's very much possible. Certainly, hash power is only half the equation. You have to be able to manipulate the blockchain as well, and have a node and be able to cover your tracks in manipulating the blockchain. But
we have one of the things too, though. We have quite a few nodes. We have quite a few seed nodes, and we have quite a few nodes that we don't tell people about. So we're doing our part to make sure that while we're still in our infancy, right, largely, that it ain't going to be as easy as people think.
Nice. You guys heard it here. SpotMeCoin. They're not a bunch of pushovers.
That's right. That's right.
I don't know if you're inviting 51% attacks. I mean, I don't think that's what's actually happening here. But they're not pushovers. So if you come for them, they're ready.
Yep.
So cool. All right. Let's ask then. As far as problem solving, I love approaching new coin projects from a problem solving engineering perspective, because I feel like for most core development teams, that's really at the heart of it. That's what it's all about, is seeing things that are wrong and wanting to fix them. So
yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk about which problem you wanted to solve first with this project. When you first decided, okay, we're going to fork, and now the order of operations, this comes first.
All right. So what's next? Like immediately next, we're finalizing our remote node that people can sync their wallets to. And we're doing that because we want to, the blockchain takes a while to download anyway. And so anything we can do to optimize and speed that process up, again, use ease of use. Don't want people to have to wait 6 days before they can actually, get on our coin.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's first things first. The second thing is that we've got our GUI. Back when I mentioned when we got attacked, we reprioritized, and we were almost done with our GUI, but we had to stop work so we could focus on getting that fork done and making sure that it's tested. And I think that's one of the things. Just sidetracking just a little bit when you talk about problem solving. We're a very cautious project because I've recognized as the leader that this is financial software, right? I mean, I think a lot of people want to rush, get more features out, do all this, but you have to remember at the end of the day, this blockchain could live on forever, right? Theoretically.
Yeah. No, that everyone should be concerned, like for better or for worse. Yeah, it can live on forever.
Yeah, and then so if it lives on forever and you're talking about it becoming a currency, or even if it were still an investment vehicle, you're still talking about having to make sure that the software is adequately tested. And, when we start talking about our SpotMe platform, which, we're looking at having third-party apps, to me, that scares me a little bit, right? Because I'm talking about giving some trust over to people that I may not know, like they're my best friend, right? And so why I'm cautious and why I'm making the team take our time is because I recognize how important it is to do this right, and that, if it were about splashiness and it were about trying to make a quick buck, it'd be a marketing project, not a development project. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we get our GUI wallet out there. Back to your question, get our GUI wallet out there, right? And what we're planning on doing there is we want the remote node there so that the default option is that it syncs to the remote node rather than downloads a copy of the blockchain.
Yeah.
And then after that's done, turn our attention to we're architecting right now, but trying to build what we're architecting with our third-party platform. And trying the real challenge there is security. It is all about security and making sure that they can interact in ways that we approve of rather than interacting in ways that enrich them.
Okay, awesome. Yep. Awesome. I've got a question from Discord right now. Corey's asking, what about the possibility of like an A share coin or B share coin, like how a lot of companies hold their shares for voting as a means for staking to keep them separate to help with the regulatory side?
I haven't looked too much into that, to be honest with you. So great suggestion, and we'll take a look at it.
Okay. Awesome. Well, and you're always welcome, of course, to under a pseudonym to come into the Mind Your Biz Discord and engage our community directly on that.
Yeah, so, I'd love to do that. So
awesome.
Maybe I'll use the one you gave me, the Stig.
Awesome. Well, bring it on. We'd love to see you in the community talking about it and asking questions. So Roost says 1. Thanks. That was very helpful. He said it in Japanese though, so it's fancy.
Awesome.
So, all right. So let's get past Ichi and go on to team. Now I know this is going to be where it gets sensitive, right? Because there's only so much you can disclose as far as where the team came from, some of the background. But maybe you could paint a picture for us in broad, vague, silhouetted strokes of what the team is like right now, maybe how many core development members there are, what the pace of development looks like, maybe some of the background of team members, and what brought you together.
Okay. So yeah, I can talk about it, and if I realize I'm going too far, I'll stop. But so in terms of like team size, in terms of core developers, we are 5 of us, right? And we've known each other for a long time. Varying skill sets, right? So a few of us are web developers, right? Which is, modern and whatnot. A couple of us are C# and C++ developers.
Yeah, very common in the States. I don't know what happened to C#, but that just like shot up in the last 10 years.
It's easy. It's a lot easier than Java.
Okay.
So I know Java and C# and C++, and they're all. I like Java personally. C++ gives you quite a bit of control, but for me, I like Java, but C# is one of those easier ones to learn, and especially because it handles so much for you, especially the .NET platform.
Got it. So it sounds like then a lot of the team, actually develops on Windows then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Cool.
And so and web development, right?
Yeah.
So the other parts of the team, we have people that are heavily involved in financial sectors, right? And we have highly credentialed people consulting with us, people with PhDs, people with MBAs. So we aren't, our core focus though is development, right? And but I think if you look at, some of the things that, we had banked on in terms of our strategy and just being straightforward, we were hoping that the ICO would be a bit more successful. But, we aren't marketing guys, right? So
yeah, you got to call a YouTuber.
Yeah. So,
I'm messing with you, but it's true. You really do have to find a specialist for that sort of thing.
It's true. And I think so, a lot of that is, we're focused, the technology excites us, right? Just like marketing guys like YouTube, right? And, but you look at it and I think that for us, there are some areas that we had hoped that we would be able to expand the team without having to use our cryptocurrency to do it. We were hoping to use cash because you pay somebody, you get what you pay for, right? And one day our cryptocurrency is going to be through the roof. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's still, that's a leap of faith. Some people want to make and some people don't.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. No, the number of projects that offer bounties for everything. It's that's tough. Yeah, right. So like bounties times 1,800 blockchains times maybe only a few dozen actually impactful projects.
Yeah.
It puts the it makes the odds like rather divided by a couple dozen useful projects. It makes the odds like not super great.
Yeah, well, I have some friends who have been involved with Ethereum, right? And they definitely, Ethereum is definitely one of those highly impactful projects. If you haven't heard of it, look it up.
If you haven't heard of it, seriously, unsubscribe now.
I just no kidding. But I think like it definitely for us, I think that's when you look at pace, right? And that's what I was getting to, is that pace is slower than we want it to be. But at the same time, very cautious on who we bring in, right? And there's a few people in our Discord channel that we're looking and talking to about bringing them in, because they've been so instrumental in helping us. Monkey Fist is out there. He's probably listening right now.
Well, let me do a quick shameless plug here, guys. If you're already supportive, please be vocally supportive down in the comments. If you think that you're maybe a net detractor or think that you're skeptical, please ask good questions down in the comments. If you haven't already followed the Discord link that you see in the comments, then by all means, follow the Discord link. It's what you see overlaid onto the video stream right now. Those are live from the Mind Your Biz Mind Your Biz Discord. So you're welcome to do that from there. But again, if you're a supporter, be vocally supportive. Blockchain projects need your vocal support. You can have good feelings in your heart, all the thoughts and prayers that you want, but you actually have to say something in order for it to have an impact. So by all means, let us know what you think. Good, bad, and different. Talk to us.
Yeah, please do. And yeah, Baskerville, Wolf, I just Lord Kyle of Earth. You know, these names are great, guys. By the way, love them. But they've been. I think the good thing about our community in particular is they've been very. They push us. They want us to move faster, right? And I think that, and they actually wanted me to come on here, and so I did that. Even though now my voice is really out there, so.
I know. I mentioned it before we went live that I wish that I had a proper vocoder voice scrambler. I could do it next time, but it would mess up the music on before and after the live stream. So I'm sorry. Pioneers die, settlers prosper. Hopefully, in the next one, I'll be able to do that for the next anonymous coin that comes on the show. But
it's all good, man. It's all good.
Well, we'll come back on. We'll just do a voice mask anyway. Just for that, right? Come back on just for the vocoder. But so it sounds like the core development team is 5. That's not bad. I mean, I had Luke from Pigeon Coin on just last week. He started that project entirely solo. He did all the heavy lifting by himself. Brand new algo, brand new coin, everything. So you guys have got. I mean, you've got some manpower. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, but again, our thing is, we're going to make sure we're tested. We're going to make sure we're doing it right. We do some practices, like we don't publish our development code. We publish the release code. So we don't, our GitHub, it looks like we only publish every once in a while, but yeah, we don't, a lot of that has been just, again, as much as we can to try to protect our anonymity. And, do you mind if we talk about why we chose to be anonymous?
I don't know. That seems totally irrelevant. I'm messing with you. Well, I'm messing with you. We'll get there. We'll get there. That was nice while it lasted, Seth. See you again. Never. Let's talk about that in just a moment, though. Let's talk really briefly a little bit more about team. And let me just ask, as far as a core, sort of a unifying culture or concept or development goal, what keeps the team with you? So they're this core development team of 5. You mentioned there are various different backgrounds. Several of you that do web development at front end or full stack, or didn't talk about that so much. Okay, full awesome, stack. Cool. Yeah. So full stack with
people that know our site and know the previous version know we didn't do a lot of front end. So anyway, but.
Okay, so a lot of full stack with some low level guys doing C++, and then slightly higher level with Java and then C# on board. Yep. So you've got you've really got a lot of brain power between 5 people who do this. Yep. And so you attracted some talent. That's awesome. What keeps them with the project and you might have heard me say it this way on other interviews, but when they get up in the morning, what makes a SpotMeCoin developer say, all right, I'm still on board every day?
Vision. They all get the vision, right? I mean, I think we know what we're about to do will change things. And I think that to me, what keeps me involved, right? Plus, I'm sitting on this massive pre-mine. So,
you're getting ready to make it rain, XME.
That's right. XME for everyone, right? No, but it's not that. It's more along the lines of, I really do, and this is probably more philosophical and stuff like that for me, what keeps me going and what I know my team, we've developed a lot through the years, so there's friendship there too, right? It's not just, hey, this random guy over here in Croatia or whatever, and no one's in Croatia, just in case you're wondering. But
well, I mean, I did have a developer on the show from Croatia last week. He's got a really great site. So Croatians need love too. Croatian developers need love too.
No, I'm just saying, for us, we're everywhere and anywhere, right? And nowhere, all at the same time. But no, I think we're friends, so we stay together, we code together, and there's obviously times of differences, but we've we've grown up working together, so it's easy to when you're working with your friends. But the vision of trying to do something to this scale, I think, keeps them involved. For me, besides the scale of what we're trying to do, I believe in the concepts of the cryptocurrency, in the sense that, with monetary policy and the way that, U.S. is right on the verge of going through a whole bunch of inflation because of what we did to try to get out of the Great Recession. And Federal Reserve, love them or leave them, they manipulate markets. And so what I love about crypto, what I love about how we've, allocated the way through it, like how the curve of our coin works, I love the fact that inflation is controlled, that as a currency, it's closer to, say, gold standard than, not that I'm a Ron Paul supporter or anything, but I'm just saying.
But you said his name, so you could be.
I do know his name, and maybe he's on the project. I don't know.
Oh, that is, oh my gosh. Everyone's interest just like blew through the roof.
But in all honesty, though, I mean, if you look at it and you look at there's a lot of reasons why we need, as people, we need less interference from people who meddle, people who like to manipulate the way money works, and this is all defined up front. And so it's, as a currency, this is a very strong way to counter inflationary pressures, right? And I'm getting boring now, but I'm just saying, for me, that I geek out on the technology, and I geek out on the concepts of what it means for people.
Awesome. Okay, so it sounds like then just anonymity, privacy all around really drives you, and it sounds like it's a rallying point for the entire team.
Yeah, and I think, like, when we were looking at being anonymous, there was a couple factors going on. I think there was a lot of high profile stories, especially with Bitcoin and Ethereum and all the crypto values just going through the roof in the November timeframe when we kind of made the decision final to go anonymous. But you look at November 2017, but you looked at, the people getting kidnapped for their holdings of Ethereum, or whatever, executives of the coins being kidnapped for ransoms. It's just,
and those guys were telling themselves like, oh, that would never happen to me. That would never happen here, before it happened.
Exactly. And I get the pressure to be anonymous, and our coin would be doing lots better if you knew the names behind it. But at the end, that's not what's important to us. Is not, it is important. The value of the coin, and again, I'm going to shoot myself later, but the value of the coin is important, right? But it's more about the technology and what we're going to be able to do to help free up people financially and whatnot. So
awesome. Okay, so it sounds like then the anonymity for the core development team proper was really driven by some of the bad news that came out of the bull run of 2017, where so much wealth was created. And, well, those are cautionary tales, right? Where there's smoke, there's fire. You see a couple of people get kidnapped, it tells you that there are some really bad actors out there.
Yeah, no, and absolutely. So that was part of it. The second part of it is that the people that are involved have a lot to lose if they get found out. I don't know if found out, but if it comes public, you're talking about people losing their jobs, things like that. So
got it. That makes sense. Yeah, we were chatting a little bit before the show, before we went live, about how it can be tough. It can be tough, right? I'm working with a couple of small technology projects, but as a private consultant, and I can't countenance some of the freelance work that I do, because it's like, you either have to pay me in prestige, like real prestige, or real money, or like a project that has real legs. And it sounds like you guys chose the third of those options.
Yeah,
but
pretty much, right? But again, things change. If once we get listed, if the value goes up, I did mention the massive pre-mine. We all know that we have a third of a pre-mine, right? And so I do want to address that, and when we have a second. But when it gets listed, we're able to start saying goodbye to some of our day jobs, I think, and start hiring people, because volunteers are great, love volunteers, but you get what you pay for sometimes, and we'd like to go out there and really capture the best talent we can get.
Awesome. Okay, so I mean, you mentioned you wanted to go into the pre-mine, and I know my audience wants to go into the listing of exchanges. So let's talk about that in whatever order makes sense for you. But massive pre-mine, looking forward to being listed on exchanges. When that's going to happen? When is that going to happen? Sorry, when GDAX?
Yeah, no, I think we wanted to make sure before we really in earnest pushed going for listing, right? We wanted to make sure that we had our best foot forward. And so in the last month or so, you've seen it. Well, I don't know if you've seen us, but we have changed out our logo. We did a community-driven competition for that, gave away from some Spot or XME, right? And so we did that. So we got a better looking logo. We got a better looking website. We're going to have the GUI wallet, the remote node, and we're going to earnestly push for listing. It'll depend on how much they charge us to list on where we do end up listing. Maybe we'll have to build up the SpotMe exchange so we can list there.
Okay, so it sounds like an exchange is on the roadmap then.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Okay, you gotta know, you can't mess with me like that. Don't you're playing with my emotions. I'm talking to projects that do have exchanges on the roadmap.
No, that's something I'm not interested in as a roadmap. I mean, it would be good. We need a lot better exchanges than we have today, but that's not our focus. I don't want to dilute our focus off of what I want to build. So, but as listings go, it depends on what we can afford to list on and who will list us. And so everybody has different criteria on what they require to get on their sites, right? So it's kind of, we're going to push hard for it, and it'll depend on, what we can afford to list on, but we'll do our best, and we want to get it listed too. And so the other part that wanted to talk about, pre-mine. So looking at, a project like this, and looking at what we want to do in the longer run, we know that VCs are going to eventually play a role once we have a product to pitch, and
right. So you're wanting to prove traction, and you're wanting to prove that you have MVP before you even talk to VCs then.
Right. Well, a lot of it is, you could go the other route, right? Get them in there, get them going, make lots of promises, compromise some vision and that, so you can just get things out the door and get return on investment.
Right. Well, I should interject. The Loki team that I interviewed last week, they stopped at seed funding. They got some pre-seed, friends and family, then they got seed, and then they crushed their debt. They squashed it. And then but they're really young. I'm sorry, they're really young. I don't think any of them have kids. I don't know what kind of life experience they have. I mean, clearly they're professional. They know their stuff, and they're very focused on their project. But man, I don't know how they limited their burn rate so much. So talk to us about that as well in a moment, when you can, about burn rate and about the prospect for moving forward and getting to that point where you can talk to VCs, or where it's going to make sense to bring in additional money. And when things are listed, how is that going to, if you can speak to that, how's that going to pan out from where the project sits right now? How do you foresee that panning out?
All right. So, couple things. So if you might, let me go back real quickly and say what I was going to say about the pre-mine and why we did that and whatnot, because it is in our community, it's a big deal, and so I want to make sure that they get that answer. Absolutely.
And I apologize for that. I apologize for the interruption. I'm One of the things that makes this show so much fun is that you can really never tell which direction it's going to go. It's not just the same like 5 questions over and over again. We go on a journey. But the pre-mine.
Well, and I appreciate that about you, Seth. I really do. And I think that, I'm just messing here. But anyway, yeah, the pre-mine, there really aren't a lot of ways for a project to make money. You got your ICO, and the only product you really have is your development code, and you give that away for free. And you've got your pre-mine. And so what we were looking at was like, we know we're going to need funding. If we can self-fund and not have to go the VC route, better, right? Either way we go, having a product, even in rough scale and, having that initial store, I think is going to make the difference for us. And that's the point at which we decide which way we're going to go, depending on what our value is on exchange and whatnot. But, if we want to go the VC route, there are a couple people that have reached out to me and to talk about it. But, there's money to be had there. It's just, we want to make sure that when we do get going, that we have more of a product so that we don't have to give up as much when you bring VC in.
Got it. Hey, that makes a whole lot of sense. Startups can be tricky that way, and man, blockchain projects really no less tricky. So you mentioned it's a 1/3 pre-mine. Help break that down into the coin supply. What does that translate into?
So we have about 60 million coins, right, as a pre-mine. Right now, I think there's 90 million or so out there, and then 180 total supply, 180 million, I should say. And so what we're doing right now, going through, and the developers all have a piece of it. It's not, it's not huge. The majority of our pre-mine is reserved for operations, specifically development and operations, because we know that once we get going, the infrastructure required to support an app store like that, the marketing to get there, it won't, even if you hold 1 million XME, we deliver on this vision, it won't matter. You know what I mean? That they'll be rich beyond their dreams. And, that's not the driver. To me, it's more political and philosophical about what I want to do here. But, I think, but it is a concern, and I think what we're going to be doing is publishing the specifics. We didn't really want to publish a lot of specifics about that kind of stuff, just because, again, there's certain things that, I think in crypto, there's expectations to do certain things like that. But, a startup wouldn't divulge all that, right? Maybe to certain people, but not to the public. And so
right.
it's kind of a...
Well, to your point, I think that's one way in which the Bitcoin project has maybe done a disservice to all future projects, in a way, in that I don't know that open source everything is always the perfect way to go all the time.
Well, if you go counter to that, you pay for it, right? And we're paying for it because we don't want to be that transparent, because there are reasons not to be. From a competitive standpoint, like you said, there's a handful of really strong projects, and then there's everybody else, and we're in that everybody else right now. For now. But but honestly, have to approach this like a business, because we want to be in it long term. We want to do things long term. So to me, that's why, we set it aside that large, because again, it has more to do with long-term viability of a company. And if you think about it, and I'm not suggesting it's like stock, but it is your product, and by letting people mine it, you're letting them share in that. So not very many companies do that. If you really think about it, that in a way, you're getting it for the cost of electricity and hash power, which is kind of special about crypto, and I like that about it. But it is one of those things that, from a business standpoint, it's a little unique.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I don't think anybody could have imagined this quite the way that it is right now 15 years ago, even with as many really as many valuable open source projects as there were 15 years ago and that have developed since then. I don't think anybody could have imagined things being quite the way they have been in crypto and the blockchain space for sure.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about mining. You brought it up. So miners, they do have a bit of a stake in your project,
Yes.
without invoking that analogy of them being shareholders per se.
Yeah, because that's not. Yeah, we do not have shareholders or anything like it. We just have a cryptocurrency. That's it, Seth. Nothing more.
Right. But let's talk about mining, right? So ASIC resistance, air quotes. Does it matter? If so, why?
So you could go either way. Personally, you could have them, ASIC mining works for a lot of people. I like the decentralized nature of a crypto, and by not allowing it to all the hash power to the point where, a few major miners control you. That's what I don't like about ASIC. And so it's not that I don't want people to be able to have awesome hash power. It's that I would like more people to be able to share in the ability to mine, right? Even if all you've got is a 4 or 5 year old computer mining, maybe you can get a 1 XME here and there, right? And eventually that's going to be worth, well, I can't even say because I don't know, but it's going to be worth something, right?
Yeah, right. Right. Well, yeah, there's a handful of projects that I have mined where it's like, oh, sweet, it's trading for less than a Satoshi.
Yeah.
Come on.
Worth something, right?
Right.
But no, when we hit our vision, I'm not promising any returns because I'd never do that. But, I think it'll be good for us. But who knows? Maybe all crypto will be illegal by then. Who knows, right?
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, right. Knock on wood. Knock on wood. Well, we definitely know which industries crypto has threatened because we've seen them respond, right? The large banks refusing to do business. PayPal, for example, refusing to process payments. I don't know if you've been following the recent news on FPGAs and the sort of renewed interest in FPGAs, but some of the developers who've been working on sort of encapsulating bit streams onto this next generation of FPGAs, they've had their funds seized by PayPal. They've had banking and other financial institutions, tell them full stop. We're not going to process your payments.
Oh yeah, well, it happened. We had similar stuff happen with our ICO, and it's funny because they're treating it. There's no laws against it right now. They just they just are scared.
Right.
And honestly, it probably has a lot to do with not being even scared, but they don't want the competition.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully that doesn't turn to legislation soon. Again, knock on wood. Hopefully that doesn't take a turn for the worst, because if you ever ask, could it get any worse? Stop asking that question, because it can always get worse.
Yes, it can.
So awesome. Let's talk really briefly then. So ASIC resistance. A lot of the projects that I'm talking to, some are like kind of neither here nor there. Others say, yes, it really matters. But let's talk about proof of work in general. Where do you think it's headed? Because your coin right now is totally driven by proof of work.
So I think it's going to be around for quite a while, right? I don't see, it depends on, the philosophical nature of it, right? But I like the way we're headed right now. I don't see a reason for us to move away from it. But we'll respond just like the industry responds, right? But for us, I'm fine with it. At some point, it may make sense to move away, but right now, I think we're good.
Awesome. So no hybrid models for you. No hybrid proof of work, proof of stake. No like 20% this.
So we will, for our cryptocurrency core, we're going to try to stay mainstream. It's really the app store idea and concept is where we want to innovate. And so I think when you look to our coin, I think what you'll see where the value that's driven for our coin will be in our ability to interact and to have a community of developers that beyond the XME project, right? I mean, that's really for us, that's going to be more valuable. I mean, because, you know, there are some things you can do to innovate. You can change your algorithm, which we've already done once. I mean, you can do all sorts of different things.
Right. And remind me, which fork of Kryptonite did you wind up following in terms of proof of work?
So we are Cryptonote Lite variant 1. So we're similar to TurtleCoin.
Okay.
So, yeah. I mean, that's what we looked at. And shout out to TurtleCoin. They got a great project.
Nice. Yeah, hey, it's important to give these acknowledgments, right? I mean, it's such a broad landscape, but I think especially in the Cryptonote space, yeah,
absolutely, they're part of the Cryptonote family, man.
Yeah,
nice. Represent.
Awesome. So it sounds like proof of work. Then, most projects that I talk to, it's weird. It'll be this. I don't want to use a $5 word where a $3 word will do, but there's this broad range of opinions, right? And there are some that talk about, well, hey, proof of work is the only thing that's proven. We can talk about proof of stake all we want, but we don't know what it looks like yet. And we need to see a really good representative sample of what proof of stake means for other projects before we'll jump on board. And it sounds like you're in that camp too.
Yeah, no, and I think you know, you could be the ones that go out there and you can lead the way. You'd be part of that bleeding edge, right? On that one, we're going to be bleeding edge on what we're doing with the ecosystem. That's where we're going to differentiate ourselves. But, you know, if it looks like the better technology, you know, and some of the other companies have gone or projects have gone and made it, you know, irresistible, you know, we'll switch it up. We're not above changing our ways.
Awesome. Oh, that's great. That's great to hear. Typically I ask most projects, hey, if there were like a sea change, right, from proof of work to staking or some other consensus model that you see working, could your project adapt? It sounds like not only it could, but that you'd be very willing to. No,
absolutely. But I'm trying to point out is that unless we see a need, right, and there may become a time where there's a need for us to lead the way in that space because of what we're trying to do. But until that time comes, you know, we'll follow the mainstream in that respect, just because there's wisdom in the crowd.
Awesome. So on that note, let me ask, because you're not listed on an exchange yet, what mechanisms can you talk about that your team and your project was able to use? Like, what countermeasures were you able to deploy when there was an attempt to 51% attack your network?
Establish a lot more nodes. So
got it.
Yeah. So we can counter.
Awesome.
We just have to, you know, and we're working on our tools for detection, right? So we do have, you know, we have our standard stuff up. We've got the Explorer and things like that, but you know, we're working on our overall network health and working on our tools for detection. So that informational awareness or operational awareness, it's very key, right? Making sure our network's strong. Eventually, at some point, once we have enough nodes out there, it won't matter. It'll be very difficult. You know, it'd be very difficult to do a 51% attack against the Bitcoin blockchain, right? So,
at this point, yeah. But I mean, there was a time where it was very common.
Yeah, no, and that's what I'm saying. Is like until we get to that point, yeah, we've got to be able to detect and respond in kind. So
awesome. And just along that vein, because this kind of feels like it's important for a project that's at the phase of adoption that yours is at. And do you think that being listed on exchanges, 1, 2, multiple, will that be a net positive for 51% attack resistance?
So I guess theoretically, the more attention you have to yourself, I mean, so it's a double-edged sword, right? In one sense, once you start trading for any value, you're going to become more of a target. And once they know that you're trading for value and you're on an exchange or on multiple exchanges, you become a bigger and bigger target. Conversely, more people are going to mine your coin. So as long as we stay with GPUs and CPUs, you know, it makes the level that they've got to get harder to get at, right? So, I mean, it makes it the level of difficulty for them. So there's that special time there, though, while you're starting to trade for value and you're still waiting for your community to really be built up. That's the danger time, right? And so for us, you know, I think before we get too many things listed, we'll expand our mitigation strategies on that. So
awesome. Okay. Well, I really appreciate you being willing to kind of, speak to that again. Last question, most important question. It's very serious.
Okay, I'm ready.
When are we going to pay me that 25,000 SpotMeCoin you promised for this interview?
Done.
Oh, no! I'm messing with you.
Fun,
so
man. I should be paying you.
Well, just for the record, I can publish our Twitter log, or if you'd be okay with it, I could even show a screen share right now of our Twitter messages talking about this interview. And for the record, I do not take paid interviews before the fact. I've had some projects say, hey, if it performs well, we may grant you a bounty at some point in the future. But that's always been mid-interview. It's never been before the fact. I do not seek interviews where payment is offered. In fact, when it's offered, I backburner those interviews. They're still being backburnered indefinitely because I prefer to have an audience that knows that these interviews are objective and that you didn't vet the questions, right? You didn't get a copy of questions before you started to interview.
No, and I did ask. I mean, I asked if there was, you know, I wanted to make sure this was on a gotcha video or gotcha sort of thing, but it was good. It's a good interview, man. I appreciate it. And yeah, I will second that. There has been no free coordination like that.
Right. That was Luke at Pigeon Coin too. This, like, when we were interviewing, he's like, right, I didn't offer you anything. I'm like, come on, man, you're killing me.
Yeah, nothing at all. And by the way, do you have that address that you were going to send me so I could no? But yeah, no. But yeah, you know. But it's been good, man. I think definitely fun and good time, man. Yeah,
definitely appreciate having you on the show. Look forward to seeing great things happen with the SpotMe community. People who want to contribute to the community, people who want to get at the leadership team, even though it's anonymous, clearly you're involved. The moment that somebody said, Seth, we want to hear something from SpotMeCoin, and I reached out to you on Twitter, you were like, hey, yeah, we'll chat. Justin asks, are we done now? Yeah, Justin, yeah, sorry, buddy. You tuned into the wrong time. I know, but here's the thing. We also went live at the wrong time. So Bits Be Trippin' is live with Christy, Oh God, a Girl, right now. Or they were about an hour ago. So we probably had an overlapping broadcast. Expect there to be a longer tail of views on this than a big surge right now live. So sorry, Justin, you missed all the fun. But sorry, Ben, Franklin, Stig.
Yeah.
You missed all the fun with Bits Be Trippin' too. So.
Yep.
But appreciate having you on the show. Appreciate you being such a good sport about it. Anonymity, guys, I'll just second their team's position. It's such an important thing. If you believe in the Bitcoin project, Bitcoin Core, if you want, and then you go, Roger Ver, you've been appeased. If you believe in the Bitcoin Core project, then you believe in anonymity of the core development team. Satoshi Nakamoto, right? We don't know if Satoshi is a guy, a girl, a group of people, or literally the gosh darn NSA. We have no clue.
Craziest thing I've heard about who that is that somebody was telling me that the internet became self-aware and it created this. So who knows, right? But I'm pretty sure it's not that, but I'm just throwing it out there for your viewers to consider. Anyway,
yeah. Well, hey, great having you on the show again. Really appreciate what you're doing. Appreciate you being such a good sport, guys. If you were wondering, is SpotMeCoin a safe project to back or to mine? What I'm going to go on record as saying, apropos of this interview, is clearly the development team was willing to go on record, not without some cover for their anonymity, but still willing to go on record talking about the project, willing to go on record talking about the direction, about the history, about their plans, and about what some of their pain points have been too. So for my part, I think perfectly safe project to follow, to get involved with, probably to mine at length. So check it out. They can find you, I think it's SpotMeCoin.com, right?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, awesome. We'll have a link in the description. Guys, thank you for hitting the subscribe button. Thank you for clicking the bell icon so that you're notified when new interviews like this one come out. Remember, you're the reason that I make these videos. I love your face. I will see you in the next one.